The film opens in a futuristic setting of 2074, where Earth is embroiled in intense corporate warfare. Two major corporations, Kobayashi from Japan and Pinwheel from the USA, are in a fierce competition to dominate the production of cyborgs. Cyborgs have taken over every role once held by humans, from soldiers to sex workers, signifying a complete transformation of society. The stakes are high, with billions of dollars on the line, underscoring the age-old adage that the love of money is the root of all evil. The narrative then shifts to a scene featuring a female robot engaged in an intimate act. Meanwhile, in a laboratory, technicians are monitoring and controlling her body temperature. As other teams track the situation, they increase her body heat. A countdown from 10 ensues, culminating in her overheating. The scene transitions to a meeting room where Dunn is explaining the development of the cyborgs' bodies. He talks about the first robot, Drina, who has been injected with a substance known as glass shadow. The next cyborg, Casella or Cash, is designed to mimic human emotions such as love, anger, respect, sexuality, anxiety, and most importantly, fear. Dunn predicts that in 2 years, if a being wasn't created by God, it would be owned by Pinwheel. The narrative then moves to a training session where the cyborgs are learning to fight. Casella is sparring with Colton, and after a series of bouts, she manages to knock him down. As she looks at him, her processor flashes the message, "Kill human." However, the session ends abruptly, and she leaves him, asking about her roommate Drina's whereabouts, but he has no information. Colton is then seen resting in a room, being monitored by a robotic system. Soon after, Casella is escorted away by Dunn and security. When Colton inquires about her destination, Dunn dismisses him rudely, stating it's none of his concern. In the lab, Casella undergoes examination and modification, with the robotic system working to rebuild her memory. Later, when she encounters Colton in the corridor, he expresses concern about her well-being. However, their interaction is interrupted by a woman reminding him of the rules against interacting with cyborgs. She hands him a matchbox and they part ways. While in his room, Colton is contacted by the robotic system, which reveals it has been observing him and is aware of everything. He is taken aback by this revelation. In his room, he opens a box given to him, from which a fly escapes. Inside the box, he finds a note scheduling an appointment. He inquires about the rules and penalties for intimate relations with cyborgs, and learns that the punishment could be as severe as death. With this knowledge, he goes to sleep. The robotic system wakes him up, reminding him of his 5 o'clock appointment at Lab 9. Startled, Colton questions how the system could know this and who it is, but receives no response. He hurries to meet Casella. Upon arrival, he finds the place eerie. While observing a hand in a bottle, it moves, startling him. Casella laughs at his reaction and expresses a wish for the roses to be real. As he leans in for a kiss, she gently rebuffs him and directs his attention to the monkeys. The robotic system then displays something, and she reveals that she often converses with it. Suddenly, a door opens and they enter. Inside, they encounter Drina. She informs them of what happened to her and warns that Casella is next. Casella asks if Drina has been repaired, but Drina only says goodbye. Colton asks what she means by next, and the robotic system explains that Casella is designed for destruction. It then suggests they leave within 5 seconds, or else Casella will be reported as stolen by Colton. A countdown begins, the alarm rings, and they run as security personnel start to chase them. Suddenly cornered by security, the officers order that the cyborg, Casella, be left unharmed. She confronts them, overpowers them all, and they flee to an elevator. Colton attempts to open the elevator but injures his hand. Casella, however, manages to open it with a single punch. As the elevator begins to halt, Colton starts feeling unwell. Casella teases him about humans' struggle with emotions and then opens the elevator roof. Just as the security personnel are about to fire at them, Colton's gun discharges near his ear. Casella tastes his blood and comments that it's sweeter than hers. She then scans the elevator and swings through the bottom to enter the duct system. The security guards pursue them, but another cyborg aids their escape by firing at the guards. They hitch a ride on a trash container and continue their escape. Casella connects herself to a TV screen to access its interface, but suddenly starts malfunctioning. This indicates that a recall code has been wired to her tracking system to prevent anyone from discovering that she's carrying the glass shadow. Colton learns about the situation and how to handle it from the robotic system and tries to soothe her. At this point, he reveals that his name is Mercy. Back at the lab, Dunn is in an elevator while Chen is on its roof. Chen questions him about Casella and the mysterious object. Dunn responds that it's not Casella's fault, but rather due to Colton's involvement. They argue over Chen's curiosity about what's to come, and she departs. The scene then shifts to a meeting room where the discussion revolves around retrieving Casella before her escape becomes public knowledge. The situation is complicated as she is the first cyborg to have escaped. If her existence becomes known, the entire Glass Shadow project could be jeopardized. They decide to enlist the help of Master Daniel, who has extensive experience in such matters. Master Daniel, who is in the bathroom with his companion, receives a call from Officer Dunn. Dunn asks if he's willing to take on the job after a 5-year hiatus. They negotiate a price of $350,000 for a 9-hour job, with a 25% bonus for early delivery. After receiving detailed information about the task, they reach an agreement. Meanwhile, Casella and Colton are on the road to meet Wildcard. Casella reminds him to go alone to find Wildcard, shares a kiss with him, and exits the car. Casella enters a bar and asks the usher for Wild. The bar is filled with people indulging in sexual activities and drug use. Meanwhile, Master Daniel arrives with a tracking machine. Colton parks his car in a building when suddenly the robotic system Mercy appears and his car window shatters. Mercy informs him that Daniel is tracking them and could be close. He advises Colton to find Casella quickly, warning him about Daniel's superior skills. Inside the bar, Casella observes various cyborg bodies being used by people. She ascends to an upper level and encounters a Chinese witch who speaks in Chinese. Casella understands her and sits down in front of her. The witch is surprised that Casella can speak Chinese, to which Casella replies that she was trained. During a palm reading, the witch asks how much time Casella has left, but upon realizing that Casella is a cyborg, she offers her a job. Casella rejects the offer by breaking the witch's hand. As she attempts to leave, a female guard tries to stop her. A fight ensues, with Casella skillfully handling the guard's chains. She jumps from the upper level and manages to evade the remaining guards. Colton parks his car and walks alongside it when Daniel approaches him for a light for his cigarette. Just as Colton is about to oblige, Daniel arrests him and questions him about Casella's whereabouts. They enter the bar and Daniel, showing his police ID, questions the guard. The guard is uncooperative, leading Daniel to shoot and kill him. Outside, a robotic dog is keeping watch. Meanwhile, Casella is searching for Colton at their initial meeting spot, unaware that a woman is tailing her. Suddenly, the woman ensnares Casella with a rope and swings her around forcefully. After a struggle, Casella is flung through the window of a nearby house. Daniel takes Colton to a secluded spot in the backyard of the building and uncuffs one of his hands. They sit on a couch and engage in a deep conversation about life. When Daniel asks about Casella's location, Colton replies that he doesn't know. In the midst of their conversation, Daniel shoots something into Colton's eye. Later, in a van, the woman who captured Casella is seen replicating and adjusting her system. It is revealed that the company Pinwheel has implanted a bomb within Casella. She inquires if it can be removed, but unfortunately, her entire system is integrated with it, making removal impossible. She then begins to reactivate the system. In a desperate plea, she asks her captor to halt the process. In return, she inquires about her partner and promises to provide a route to escape the state if her request is granted. Meanwhile, Daniel appears to have fallen asleep on a couch in front of Colton. Seizing the opportunity, Colton cleverly steals the key from the door, uncuffs his hand, and quietly leaves. After his departure, Daniel awakens, revealing that his slumber was feigned. The object he had shot into Colton's eye was a camera equipped with GPS to monitor his movements, setting a trap for him. Casella is found in a museum, observing the statues and exhibits. Colton unexpectedly arrives and meets her. She realizes that he has been ensnared by Daniel, so she advises him to remain hidden and not disclose any landmarks. She instructs him to wait until they are contacted by Mercy, hoping that it will happen soon. They begin to discuss life, their company, its objectives, and mankind's futile attempts to play God. They also reminisce about the time they first met. Colton recalls his initial disdain for her at Pinwheel. He admits that he was frightened when he first started developing feelings for her, as he felt he was going against God. His fear for her safety was even greater than his fear for himself. Despite this, he embraces her and reassures her that he has no regrets. Suddenly, Daniel appears, attempting to apprehend them. Chen also also arrives unexpectedly and a gunfight ensues. Casella and Colton run to escape. During the exchange of gunfire, Chen shoots a mirror, causing shards to fly into Daniel's face and injure him. Seeing this, he becomes more aggressive in his pursuit. Chen follows Colton and Casella and confronts them in a nuclear room. A fierce fight breaks out, and after a series of battles, Chen is trapped with an electrical system unit and is burned. Casella and Colton continue their escape from Daniel. On the ground floor, they spot a dog. Casella realizes that the dog, which is robotic, was sent by Mercy. They decide to follow it. The robotic dog guided them through a sewer pipe, and after a long journey underground, they found an exit. They knocked on a door and requested entry, mentioning Mercy. The man at the door left to consult with his manager and returned after a while to welcome them to the underground town. They asked him about Mercy, but he revealed that no one finds Mercy. Instead, Mercy finds them. He explained that they should only expect basic survival amenities here, wished them luck, and left. The dog led them further in as time ticked away. Eventually, Mercy appeared and informed them that they were too late. He added that their only option now was to take another boat and head to Mombasa, the only place where cyborgs could live freely and without fear of being trapped. Initially, Colton disagreed, but after realizing the greater risks they faced here, he changed his mind. Elsewhere, Daniel contacted the board members and Dunn at the office. They asked him for a 4-hour report, but he countered by asking for an additional payment agreement, raising it to 50%. Dunn refused, and Daniel began to threaten them. Despite his threats, they stood their ground, and Daniel continued his frantic drive. Returning to Colton and Casella, we find Colton receiving treatment from Wild. Mercy begins to explain that time will eventually separate them because Casella, being a cyborg, can remain 22 forever, unlike Colton. Wild proceeds to remove the crystal-like object from Colton's eye. Later, Colton comes across a photograph of Velma, who was Mercy's wife. He inquires about her identity, prompting Mercy to reveal her story and the fact that Daniel was responsible for her death. Mercy then directs him to open a central drawer where he finds a ring. He presents this ring to Casella that night, and they share a passionate moment. We then see Mercy in his room, an elderly man gazing at Velma's photograph. Suddenly, he taps on a screen displaying a map and providing them with detailed instructions to meet Bobby. They encounter Bobby in a bar, drinking, just as Daniel arrives for a confrontation. With all the gauges on his face peeled off, Colton engages in a fierce fight with Daniel, marking the end of the first round. Security forces were quickly converging on their location. The second round of the fight began, with Daniel gaining the upper hand and preparing to decapitate Colton with a ventilator. However, Colton managed to evade him just in time as the bell signaled the end of the round. The third round escalated in intensity. Casella was about to join the fray, but Bobby held her back. In a surprising turn of events, Colton managed to decapitate Daniel with the ventilator, winning the fight. However, the security forces were on the scene and began launching explosives. In the ensuing chaos, they attempted to escape. Amidst the intense combat, Colton was shot and they were captured. Fortunately, a falling TV revealed Mercy on the screen, who activated a bomb. This allowed Colton and Casella to escape. Mercy then confronted the soldiers in person. Recognizing him, they were taken aback as he fought them off fiercely. Eventually, Mercy was captured. He was brought before Dunn, who taunted him mercilessly, oblivious to the fact that Mercy had planted a bomb. The bomb detonated, killing everyone in the building. The film concludes with Casella and Colton arriving in Mombasa. After a considerable passage of time, Colton had aged significantly, while Casella remained unchanged, caring for him in his old age. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.